If you are trying to lose body fat, one of the most important aspects of nutrition that you want to have in line is protein. You need to make sure you are eating enough protein because this is going to give you optimal results. So there's a couple of reasons why. Protein is going to help you maintain muscle. Now, even if you don't care about muscle and all you want to do is lose fat, you should still care because when you have muscle, that's what gives you the toned look and helps you avoid the skinny fat look. So that's point number one, very important. The next thing that having muscle does is it helps you burn more calories. So you'll be able to lose weight on more calories. What? And aside from those two things, it helps you feel more full after eating. So again, if you're in a caloric deficit and trying to lose weight, it's going to make it easier to stick to that. It has been linked with mood improvements and better energy. So you want to eat your protein. When it comes to how much protein to eat, there's a range. 0.7 grams to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight is a good range to aim for. If you really struggle, you can stay towards the bottom end of the range. Sometimes the odd person will ask what happens if you go over that amount. Once you start getting above 1.4 grams per pound of body weight of protein and you're in a caloric deficit, that's starting to push it a little bit high just in terms of caloric budgeting. Because if you're, let's say you're only eating 1,600 calories, a large portion of that is protein, it's not gonna leave much room for carbs and fat. Then you might start having low energy and just not feeling good. So if you're in a deficit, you want to make sure you're not going over 1.4 grams of protein per pound of body weight. But if you're in maintenance or surplus, then it's not as much of an issue. I asked on my Instagram what it is that people struggle with most. So those main questions are what I'm going to be answering today. So the first thing I am going to go over is a list of foods that are high in protein that are not meat, because the most common struggle people had was not being able to hit their protein because they don't eat meat. And I don't really eat meat that often. At home, I never do, and I have no problems hitting my protein. So good news, that means you will be able to hit yours too. The list is pretty long, so I'm not gonna read the whole thing because I tried filming that already and I talked about the list for 12 minutes. So I'm gonna say some of my favorites, and then the rest of the foods are going to be on a LinkedIn article, and my LinkedIn is Laura Grossi, Grossi, and I'll put the link for that below too. Yeah, check it out because I'm gonna have some extra recipes and stuff on there as well. Let's get into it. So all of these sources of protein are quick and easy. Nothing requires a lot of time. Quick and easy. So most of these are vegetarian and vegan. So edamame, that is a favorite of mine, honestly, because it's so yummy, and I get frozen edamame. So to prepare it, all you gotta do is throw it in the microwave. Then when it's done, you can add whatever you like to it. You can keep it really simple, add some olive oil and salt, or you could add it to a full meal. Bam, done. Protein, deliciousness, woo! So that's like most of the things on this list can be used as snacks or part of a meal. Next thing that you can use to help yourself reach your protein is select vegetables that are higher in protein. So obviously that you're not gonna get like 50 grams of protein unless you eat like a ridiculous amount, but it can help you rack up your protein intake throughout the day. So some vegetables that are good for that would be broccoli, Brussels sprouts, asparagus is not bad. And again, I get broccoli and Brussels sprouts frozen so I can microwave them because I don't really like raw broccoli that much, so microwave it is. Another one is lupini beans. So there's a couple different ways you can buy these. I've tried them from the health section in the grocery store. They had them in little bags, so you could, like, it was a little snack ready to go. They had different flavors. They were super yummy, and I loved them. The only thing is they were a bit expensive. So I feel like most people wouldn't want to buy those on a regular basis. I know I haven't really bought them again. It's just once in a while. So then they also have these beans in a can, but if you buy them in a can, you'll definitely want to season them, do something to them, because when I got them in a can, I didn't do anything to them and I was like, ooh, this is not nearly as good as the bagged ones. But again, it could be a nice, easy little snack, something that's quick, high in protein. I think they have more protein than like other types of beans, like kidney beans and things like that. So they're definitely a really good one to incorporate. So another thing, this is a quick, easy snack, or of course can be added to a meal, cheese. So cheese actually has a not bad amount of protein. So if you want it as a snack, you could have like, what are those things called? Those like cheese sticks, yeah, like cheese strings. You could have like those little mini Baby Bell cheeses. And then the good thing about cheese, obviously, is you can get light cheese or full fat cheese, whichever is, again, it would kind of depend on how many calories you're working with. I don't really think there's a massive difference in the protein between the light and the regular. So yeah, that's a really great little thing. Again, add it in. Bam, protein bumped up. Next one, nutritional yeast. So if you haven't had it before, it almost has a bit of like a cheesy taste and it's so yummy, and it's low calorie. There's a lot of nutrients in it. There's a pretty good amount of protein. So this is a great one for vegans, vegetarians, anyone who doesn't eat meat. You can add it to anything. You could put it on the vegetables when they're cooked or raw, whatever. You could put it on the edamame. So versatile. So that's a great one. Another one is protein bars, but not, because I know another thing that people struggle with is keeping things affordable and they don't want to buy like insanely expensive things. So for protein bars, you don't have to get like the expensive brands that you would find at supplement stores. You can stick with things a little bit cheaper and they might not have quite as much protein, but it will still help. So for example, I like the boxed Atkins bars. Those ones are pretty yummy, decent amount of protein. There's like pure protein, I think it's called. Even in like the granola bar aisle, there'll be some protein bars that have added protein, like say Fiber One with extra protein. Just check the label and make sure it actually has a good amount of extra protein. Sometimes it'll be like protein and it's only like 2 extra grams. Greek yogurt. I do not know if I've seen vegan Greek yogurt in Canada. That is where I am from. But in the States, I have seen it. There's so many things you can do with it. You can get the little cups for a snack on the go. You could have a bigger meal at home. You can get different flavors. So, and they're pretty high in protein. So for me, it's one of my favorite sources of protein. And the other ones are tofu, tempeh, and seitan. Now, I found some pretty yummy looking tofu and tempeh recipes, and they're all quick. I made sure that they're roughly 15 minutes total time, I think. So those are gonna be in the LinkedIn article. So check that out. Again, these could be like a yummy little snack, yummy part of a meal. So flexible, so versatile. Oh. A couple vegans said that they'd tried multiple vegan protein powders before and they just didn't like any of them. So I was looking around online and someone that was a vegan, they said the same thing, that they had tried a bunch and then they finally found one they liked, and it was the PE Science protein powder. So if you haven't tried that, maybe try that one. Maybe you'll like it. I have no idea. So that's it for the actual food sources. Now I'm gonna go into a lot of the other struggles that people had. Okay, so some people said that their issue is either with the protein, it's either lack of variety and getting bored, or just like not enjoying protein quite as much. So there's a couple little things you could do. So to get more variety, you can pretend, I'm just gonna tell you what I've done. So I have been eating eggs and egg whites for breakfast since the dawn of time, but over the years, I always switch up what I eat with it, and that makes it feel like a different meal, even though the protein source is the same. So there was a time I went through a period of time where I would have eggs in a wrap with some veggies and cheese. Then another time I was having the eggs with a low-calorie bagel. Then another time I was having them with savory oats. Right now, I'm loving eggs with toast. It's so simple, but so good. So that's just an example. Like I switched the the accessories, the carbs and fats, and sometimes I would have avocado, switching up the types of cheese. Like, see, you can just switch up the other things in the meal, so then that way the protein source is kind of like dressed up and in disguise, a little bit different. Because typically protein sources they're not always as exciting. They're not as palatable as carbs and fats. But again, it's not like I'm telling you to just have a plain bowl of egg whites or a plain bowl of Greek yogurt. When it's mixed in with stuff, it's not so bad. So something I'll do, going back to the egg and egg white example, is if I'm having like a wrap or even the toast, I'll have a lot of egg whites and it won't all fit on the wrap or the toast or whatever. So I'll put the extra egg whites on the side. Now, obviously that's not super exciting, just plain egg whites, but there's yumminess right next to it. So it's kind of like when you're a kid, like eat your veggies and then you can have the good stuff. So it's like eat the egg whites, the extra egg whites, and then we're gonna move on to the more fun stuff. So it's kind of like, yeah, this isn't like super exciting, but I have something else in this meal to look forward to, so I can suck it up. Make sure you have something a little bit more enjoyable for during or after your protein source, just so it's like incentive to eat it. Another thing, Greek yogurt is actually so versatile because there's so many different things you can do to make it like a sweet treat, but you can also make it savory. So in terms of the sweets, you can obviously switch up the flavor of Greek yogurt. I know if you've done one of my programs, you've probably been eating the Greek yogurt bowl with frozen fruit, peanut butter, and sugary cereal. But again, even within that, there's so many things you could change. You could put chocolate chips instead of cereal. You could put a different kind of nut butter. You could actually put nuts. You could put sugar-free Jell-O pudding mix, that's delicious as well. And then there's other things, like I have shown people the Greek yogurt bark, which is essentially the same ingredients, but because it's frozen and it looks different, it kind of is like, ooh, something different. And then there's also overnight oats, which also have Greek yogurt in them, so that's another way to consume that protein. And then, like I said, if you wanted to make it more of a savory kind of thing, you could make a spinach dip. I haven't done that in a long time, but I remember a few years ago, I did make spinach dip out of Greek yogurt and I loved it. So if you're super bored, just like straight up bored of any type of sweet Greek yogurt, try a spinach dip Greek yogurt because it's so good. Same with tuna. You can get flavored tuna, try different recipes, all that fun stuff. So then somebody said that they have a hard time finding protein sources they enjoy that aren't too high in fat. They said they prefer chicken thighs over chicken breast, and that's actually fine. In my Knockout Body program, in the meal plans, like in the example meal plans, I don't think I put any chicken breast. I strictly put chicken thighs because they're so much tastier than chicken breast because, you know, the extra fat, but they're not that high in fat. Unless you're eating really low calorie, it shouldn't be that hard to work in. So do not fret. If you are somebody who does eat meat, but you just really don't like chicken breast, that's fine. Have chicken thigh. Honestly, I wish I was told this when I started working out, because I remember sitting with plain chicken breast at the end of the day, trying to hit my protein and hating life. Like I would start gagging and like, it sucked. So yeah, you can eat chicken thighs. Okay, so no time to cook. That's another problem people have. So good news, the only thing I cook is eggs. Everything else I get requires zero cooking unless you include microwaving. So yeah, I have my eggs, all my veggies, I get them frozen and then I microwave them to cook them. And then I'll usually have like tuna as a protein source. Obviously that doesn't require cooking. If you don't like tuna, you can refer to the list that'll be up on LinkedIn, and because all of those things don't really require much cooking unless you're using a microwave. So that's super easy. So again, it can take a bit of practice, but you absolutely can hit your protein and eat well, even if you're working 18-hour days. It just, like, you can time your meals however you like. It doesn't have to be like, oh, every few hours. If you want to do like an intermittent fasting approach and not eat till you're done your long day, like, you just have to understand that the timing doesn't matter. It's just whatever's gonna be easiest to fit into your schedule. Once you get used to tracking, it takes 2 minutes a day. So you're gonna have to go through the initial learning curve, which is gonna be a little bit more time consuming at first because you're new at it. But if you put in that initial work and really become familiar with how to eat in order to hit your protein, it's gonna become effortless and it's not gonna take that much time. So what I would suggest is find some time, set aside some time, like make some time, even if you have to get up an hour earlier. Like this is for your goals. If your goals matter to you, you're gonna find some time. So find some time, and in that time, what you're gonna do is plan out a bunch of meals that you typically eat. So it could be a couple different days worth of meals, and you're just gonna play around with it until you reach your ideal protein and calorie goal. So that way, once you're busy running around on the go, you can kind of refer to that and get a little bit more ideas. So you're not sitting there trying to figure out how to get the protein and calories where they're supposed to be. Like I said, it's not gonna be that hard once you get the hang of it, but if you care and you're serious about your goals, you do need to put in that initial work. Okay, so then somebody else said that they were not hungry enough, so it was hard to hit their protein. So that makes sense because protein is filling. I would suggest if you're eating a meal, when you're eating a meal, eat your protein source first, because even I find it hard to eat protein if I'm not hungry, unless it's like Greek yogurt or a protein bar. But anything else, well, or eggs, I love eggs. Okay, but it can be harder to eat when you're not hungry. So try to eat that first thing in your meal. And then also you can gradually increase your protein intake. Like if you're used to eating not very much protein, it is gonna feel a bit uncomfortable just jumping from that all the way up to like 1 gram per pound of body weight. So it's almost like reverse dieting, like just each week slowly add a little bit of protein so your stomach can get used to it and you're not feeling all bloated and like it's too much. So yeah, take it slow. It's not a race. Slowly add it in and your stomach will adapt, because I eat a lot of protein and I don't really have any issues like that. I mean, it can depend on your food sources. I know if you're eating like a lot of beans and stuff, then it's pretty common to feel a bit bloated, but yeah, add things in gradually and it won't feel so like bleh, bleh. Okay, so one of my girls, she said that her problem is the only time she struggles with hitting protein is if she's going out to eat at restaurants, and I can totally relate to that. If I'm like traveling and making none of my food myself, it is definitely more challenging to hit protein because there's not like massive portion sizes of it. So what I would suggest, I mean, if the odd day here and there you're a bit under, that's totally fine. But say if you're like going out to eat frequently or you really do want to try to hit your protein that day, what you would want to do is make sure you have more protein either before or after, or both, before and after that restaurant meal. So maybe some extra protein shakes, maybe like again, tuna. If you know you're having a bigger meal at the restaurant and you're trying to save calories, then you would want to pick like sources of protein that are mainly just protein and not many carbs and fats. So extra egg whites, things like that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Just try and get in more protein before and after the restaurant. That way, even if the meal you get isn't that high in protein, you've still got in a good amount. Okay, last question is, can you only absorb 20 grams of protein at a time? No, you can eat more than 20 grams of protein at a time. It's still going to benefit you. Now, if you can, it is good to at least split your protein between 3 meals, so like 3 big chunks of protein. But if that doesn't work with your schedule, don't worry. I have gone through long stretches of time where I didn't eat that way. I ate like a lot of my protein at night. I didn't like have any. So it's one of those things where, yeah, it's on the list. It can make a bit of a difference, but really at the end of the day, as long as you're hitting your overall calories, overall protein, and staying consistent, that is the key. But what I do is I'll start, because I think I only have like 2 big meals a day and then like a little snack, couple little snacks. So I'll have like my little snack mid-morning, and that's a protein shake. And then early afternoon, I'll have my first, my breakfast technically. I mean, it's not really breakfast, but you know, my egg thing. So that has a lot of protein. And then mid-afternoon, I might have a snack, might not. And then evening, I'll have my last meal, which is also high in protein. So the morning the protein shake is actually not as much protein as the other meals, but it's getting in a little bit. So that's just an example of an easy way to split it apart. It's not like it has to be insane. And those are all my tips on hitting protein. Make sure you check out the LinkedIn article because things are going to be a little bit more detailed. There's going to be extra food, extra recipes. And let me know if you have any questions, because since this is quite a common struggle for people, I want to know what those struggles are so I can help you guys better. So let me know if you've got questions, and that is all. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!